Hey there! Today I'm going to talk about a very interesting pen. I think a lot of men would like to have an 8-inch pen, and I found one online, so I thought, let's get it. Let's see what this is all about. Well, it's more than just 8 inches. It's a very special pen. It came in this box. You can see it's big, right? You know I have large hands, and this is a serious box. When you open that up, you just slide out another box, plus, and that's why I'm doing this off camera, a guarantee sheet. This is again an Italix pen. I recently reviewed the Italix Parsons Essential. I really like that, and I like this pen. So you get some information about the pen. You get the box, and you get this nice box. I really like this box. It's significant. I have a big pen, probably, oh yeah, here. Airmail quality. This is a big pen, that's a big box. Okay, now when you open that up, you get some velvet lining, and this is the pen. You see that? I mean, are you seeing this? This is a preppy, and that's not a small pen itself. Oh yeah, that's how big it is. Okay, and it has this nice gold plate which says Italix quality pens. Well, they are quality pens. You take it out. It came with 3 cartridges, sorry. Velvet lining, little rubber bands, well not really rubber bands, but elastic bands to keep the pen in place, snap shut, and here you got the pen. Now that's big. That's, here to there is about 8 inches. There we go. Okay, now why is this pen so big? Because it doesn't look like it's, I mean, it looks somewhat out of proportion, right? When you uncap it. Why do you have such an insanely long barrel? Well, that's why. That's right, my friends. I think I said something else there. That's right, my friends. There is a whole different nib there. It's there. And that makes it very interesting. Now, this is the Italix Teacher. That's what it's called, the Teacher. And this is actually very useful because you could just put one type of ink on one side, another type of ink on the other side. For example, blue and red. So you do correction work, you use red. You do regular writing, you do blue. And you cannot get confused which ink is where because this cap actually looks like a huge blind cap of some kind, but it doesn't have a clip. So it's very easy to distinguish between both ends. Okay, now I think that's pretty awesome. I'll cover the parts of the pen, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample, and that's it. Okay, so the cap. I'll call it the cap because this is the end that has a clip. The clip is pretty tight, but I don't think it's as tight as on the Parsons Essential. On top you have this nice black sort of, well, the top of the cap, the end cap, you get the clip, and you get this gold band, a wider one, a narrower one, and a black band in between. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it's there. You can get the pen in blue and red. I got red because I thought it would be a bit more sparkly, and it is. It's a very nice, bright red, sort of marbled design, which looks pretty cool. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but if I turn it around, I think around this part, you can actually see some of that marbling that's going on, which is very, very nice. Okay, you unscrew it, so you can't accidentally pull it off. Now that, of course, with a pen like this would be a big issue, because this end could be in your pocket or pen pouch or whatever, and then you could just pull it off and reveal a nib. So it's a screw-off nib. The nib is marked Iridium Point, Germany. It's pretty smooth, actually. It may not be the smoothest nib I've ever used, but it's not scratchy. You'll feel some feedback when you write, and you'll hear it, but I don't think it was particularly scratchy. I didn't actually, it didn't dig into the paper, which sometimes happens with these really scratchy nibs. That was not the case here. You get some nice little curly things engraved in there. The section is tapered somewhat, then you get another gold highlight, and you got the screws, the screw threads. When you hold it, it's huge. You cannot post it. Of course you cannot post it, because then it would turn into something like this, which is just ridiculous. You would actually poke out the eye of the guy next to you, which is something you wouldn't really want to do. So it's nice. It's top heavy, because there's a whole different cap there, and it's just very long. Is that a big issue? Well, no, because what you can do when you write is just take that off, and I found that to be very comfortable. Won't that dry out that nib? Yeah, but come on. Unless you're writing like your whole autobiography like this, I don't think it's a huge issue. Pleasant to hold. It's not really texture, but it's not really smooth, so your fingers won't slip, which is a good thing. The threads, I tend to hold my pen a bit highly like this, but these threads are not so sharp that they'll actually dig into your skin, which I enjoy, because some pens I have are a little sharp there. You may feel it a little bit at the bottom, so your middle finger may feel it a bit, but I don't think it was particularly unpleasant or anything. And in fact, with this pen, I tend to hold it a bit low, because when I hold it too high, the balance just doesn't work out. So, just so you know. Okay, then you have the barrel, nice marble design, and you have the other cap. Now, I don't have to go through the whole thing again on this side, because the two nib ends are identical. Right? There's no difference there. This cap is identical to the real cap, except it doesn't have a clip. But apart from that, it's exactly the same. What about ink feeds? Well, you know, the regular, the feed is just there, nothing too fancy. I mean, just a fairly straightforward feed. This pen takes international cartridges, and I noticed while I write that they can fall out, they can become dislodged, and that's what happened with this one. Now, it's not an issue for me. They don't fall down because there's another cartridge there. So, you know, you just carefully turn it over. It will, you know, hold it. You can sort of catch it with your feed or with your grip section, and you won't get ink on your fingers, so that's fine. And maybe it's the specific cartridges I'm using. They're a bit too hard, not pliable enough, whatever. In any case, I like the idea. So these are refilled cartridges. As I said, it came with 3 cartridges. I put They Stayed Blue in this one, and I put some Akamon Red, Chinatown Red in the other, and I just like it. Okay, so what about the nibs? Well, I told you, I think they're pretty smooth. Not the smoothest I've ever used, but definitely, most definitely not the scratchiest either. I enjoy them. I may try out smoothing them myself a bit more, but even out of the box I think they're pretty good. These are medium nibs. There are no options. You cannot get a fine, you cannot get a broad, you cannot get an italic, but I fitted on the italic nib from my Parsons Essential, and that just fit on there, because you can pull out the nib and the feet, they are friction fit. I just put it in there, and it seemed to fit in well. I didn't ink it up, so I'm not sure whether it may leak ink or anything, but okay, I think it's I think it might just fit on this. So if you really need that, you could try it out. It's going to be expensive, because then you need to buy one of these and, you know, 2 essentials, and then swap the nib. So, but okay, that's all I can say. It's big, it's quite heavy. I think it weighs about 60 grams if I remember correctly, which is heavy for a pen, but of course that's capped and all. You got an extra cap, you can remove that if it's too heavy. So what do I not like about it? Well, Mr. Ford of the company that sells this says, he told me in an email, well, it's a bit like using a telephone pole. Well, yeah, it is, because it's top heavy, and it's just big, it's large. For me, it's not an issue, but I can imagine that if you have really small hands, then this may not be very comfortable to use. I'm not sure, but I can imagine. The nibs, I think, are nice enough. It's a pity you cannot use a converter, but of course then it would be even longer. I think that the international short cartridge is really the only thing you could plausibly use. But you know, you can refill them with an ink syringe, so it's not a big issue. If you want to use bottle ink, it's just a funny pen. Let's face it. One pen with 2 nibs. One pen, 2 nibs. That sounds like an internet movie that could go viral. In any case, it's cool. It's just cool. And you know you want to have this. It's that simple, because it's just, it's funny. So I hope this was useful. I'll show you how the two ends write next, and that's all there's to it. So I'll see you later. Bye bye. Well, here we go with the Italix teacher. I'll use both nibs, although of course they are the same. So, I mean, they're both medium, but as you can hear, the nib makes a bit of a sound. I would not call this scratchy. The nib is medium, and the ink it's Bay State Blue. It seems to work out pretty well in this pen. Relatively little feathering, etc. So I'm pretty okay with that. Let's just switch it around for a second. This is the other ink I got in there. This is Ackerman Red. That's Chinatown Red. As you can see, they give about the same level of smoothness and the same line width, I think. And of course that's very logical because they're two identical nibs. It's just that the blue, I think, makes it look like a slightly wider line, but it's a bit of a darker ink. So I think that's just an optical illusion, actually. The quick red fox. Jumps over the losey. That should have been lazy. What? Dog. Okay, so pretty fascinating. You'll hear the nib, you'll feel the nib, but I still don't think it's particularly scratchy, to be honest. I definitely feel some feedback, but I would not call this scratchy. I've used considerably scratchier nibs. I may just take a buff stick to this and try to smooth it out just a little bit more to see whether that does anything. But even out of the box, I'm not at all disappointed in the smoothness of this nib. So I think it's a nice nib. Nibs, actually. Serious nibbage. Well, anyway, let's take a look at line variation. Well, there seems to be some. Clearly it's not a flex nib, but it's pretty nice, I think. Will definitely give you some wider and some finer lines. It's not extremely pronounced, but it's there. Let's do some fast writing. That's pretty difficult with this pen because it's a bit top heavy. Not being legible, just being fast. And as you can see, there was no skipping and no skidding. I mean, you see something here, but that's just because I sort of started a new shape there. So the feed keeps up well with the nib and with the pen, with the writing speed. You see it's relatively wet. You get a nice wet patch of ink, something that I really enjoy. I really like this pen. I'll be completely honest, I enjoy it. And, maybe the nib could be a bit smoother, but it's definitely not a bad pen. It's definitely not a scratchy nib. And come on, let's face it, for the price of one pen you actually get two. I know that the two nibs are the same, but I think it's pretty cool. So, if you're looking for something like this, if you would like to carry two inks in one pen, if you enjoy that for whatever reason, then I would seriously consider getting this pen because I think it may just suit your needs. Now then, I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.